Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video we're going to talk all about classes and methods and how they work together. So I'm going to create the project that we're working on for today. I'm going to create that, and we're going to talk about the stuff as we create it. Okay. So as we learn in Computer Programming 1, we can create new methods by just creating a new method inside the same class that we've been using forever, which is the main class. I can create a method, let's say, my car, and I have to give it a keyword, right? Remember that there are, mostly we do static void as the keywords. Static is the accessibility, which we're going to talk about today. Void means it doesn't return any type. Okay. And inside of this, I can have system out.print line, I drive the Batmobile, right? And that can be our message. And then inside this main method, we can say, my car. Basically, we're calling that my car method, and when we run the application, I dive the Batmobile. Apparently, it's going to say, "Hello world, I dive the Batmobile." Let me fix that. So that's how we've been using methods, right? And that makes sense. That works for what we're doing. But what about if I have a method inside of a class? Well, we have to talk about this static keyword here. There are two different ways to produce a method. You have the static method, which are methods that can be called without creating new objects. Usually these static methods are accessible by any other methods inside of the same class. But if I have a method that's outside of the class, let's say I create a new class, we'll call it car.java. And actually, classes should start with a capital. I should have done that in my last lesson, but I didn't. So sue me, I guess. Let's say we have a method called car.java. We're going to create, or a class, class car. And inside of here, we're going to have a method. We'll call it speed or full throttle. Okay. Now, and when I want my car to go full throttle, I'll say system.out.print line. The car is going as fast as it can. All right, exclamation point. So I can instantiate the car class, and I can access this full throttle variable. But the reason I can do that is because I've created it as a public method. Sorry, this full throttle method. The reason why I can do that is because I've created it as a public method. Public methods can be accessed by other classes, but you have to instantiate that class first, right? So for example, let's go ahead and instantiate my car method. So car, my car. Let's get rid of this method here. Let's instantiate the car class, car, my car equals new car. Oh, so I've now instantiated car as my car. And if I call my car dot full throttle, it should produce my message, which is the car is going as fast as it can, right? Because I'm calling the car class and the full throttle method inside that class. And there it is. The car is going as fast as it can. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we need, right? Now, so again, that's the difference between having a public method and a static method, okay? All right, so next we want to talk about constructors. Basically, in Java, a constructor is a special method that's used to initialize objects. So your car might have certain qualities about it that are different from the overall car, right? So think about this class as like just a basic version of it. And when you instantiate it, you can give it your own details, right? So let's see how that works in action. So if I create a constructor for my car class here, I'm going to need to create a special method that is the same name as the class. So public car. And inside this method, I'm going to give it some arguments. Let's say int year and string name, so that I can have a specific year and model of my car. So we'll say model. Oh, you know what? I have to initialize these variables first, so let's do that. So let's say int model year, int model name. So these variables now belong to the class itself, and I want to construct, and actually that's going to be a string. I want to change the value of these variables whenever I instantiate this class. So I'll say model year equals year, model name equals name. So this is what's called a constructor. It will basically initialize these variables whenever we instantiate the class. Okay, so let's see how that works in practice. So over here in our main, what I can do is I can basically grab whenever I instantiate this car. Let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. There should be an error that pops up because I'm asking for specific arguments that I'm not giving it, and it is. So right here it says there's an issue. Constructor car in class car cannot be applied to the given type, which it's looking for an integer and a string, which is exactly what I created over here, an int and a string, and we need to construct those values when we call it, right? So instead of instantiating it with nothing in the parentheses, I can say that my car is a 2023 Batmobile. Okay, so now if I were to, I don't know, let's say put out a string system.out.print line, my car dot model year, put a space there. And actually it'll be my car dot model name goes fast. Okay. So I can access those values from the class, and because we've constructed them with these initial values, then they'll show up with that data. So let me go ahead and run it. All right, come on. There we go. My 2023 Batmobile goes fast. The car is going as fast as it can because we're calling that full throttle method again. All right. We can also pass data into methods without creating a constructor. So let's say I had a method inside my car class, and we'll call it, I don't know, max speed, public void speed. Yeah, we'll just call it speed. And it's going to bring in max speed. So we're going to give it an argument of max speed, and we'll say system. Oh, hold on. System.out.print line. Max speed is max speed. Okay, so then over here I can call that max speed method, or I can call that speed method, right? This new method I just created. I can call the speed method, but I have to pass in the max speed. So I can say, I have to call the class first. So or the object. So my car object, we'll say speed, and I'm going to give it a max speed of, say, 300 because my car goes fast. My car goes vroom vroom. And we'll go ahead and run it and see what happens. Come on. All right, so my 2023 Batmobile goes fast. The car is going as fast as it can. Max speed is 300. All right, so it's that easy. All we're doing is we're passing in, we're just trading data back and forth between these two classes, right? We have a class that has a basic object. Now, the nice thing about objects is we could use this for any car, right? Notice that the data that I'm giving it is specific for my Batmobile, but if I change this data, this car class never has to change. So you can use this for things like, let's say we had a video game and you had a main character, right? And your user is creating a new character to start the game, basically, picking their gender, their race, their class, their strength, stats, and all that stuff. This is how you can create a basic version of that, the format, the structure, and then with the in the actual running of the game, instead of giving them these values, I could say, what year is your car? Get that from the user, or what class do you want to be? Get that from the user, and then give that as an argument to this object to create a new object with those values. All right. Anyway, so that is one way to use. That's how you use methods and constructors to create data inside of an object. So I want you to basically create this program. Create an object. It can be a car object, just like the assignment describes, or it can be really anything you want. I don't care. What it does need, though, is it needs a constructor, and it needs one public method that has no arguments, and it needs a public method that does take in an argument. And I need you to be able to give those data, those data to the object, and the object to return a pre-formatted output string. Okay. So if you just copy exactly what I've done here, you'll be good to go, but it may be fun to try to see what else you can do. And make sure you've done the reading for this week, because it's going to go into much more detail than this lesson did. All right. Thank you for paying attention, and I'll see you next time. Bye.